Hello, thank you very much for considering my candidacy. My name is Sam Brown. I am applying for the development manager position at Merit America, and I am going to very quickly take you through how I set up this project, how you can engage with it, and then give you a pretty thorough deep dive in part 3. So to access part 1, you can click this hyperlink. I'll also include it in the email. It should be pretty straightforward in the sheet. Part 2 is completely here in the deck, which I will also send to you. You're welcome to pause to read my observations or go ahead and open the deck when you have a chance. And then part 3 is also in the same Google Sheet as part 1, but it primarily lives in an Asana project, which is also accessible via this hyperlink. But I'm going to take you right now straight away to my Asana project for part 3 and jump right in. So I've developed 3 touch points, one in person, one virtual, and one mailing to delight donors and engage them in interesting and fun ways. So the Happy Hour Roadshow is our first touch point. The goal is to select 5 to 10 cities to host happy hours to connect donors, learners, and alumni. The priorities is that the cities must have a high count of major donors, high count of learners, alumni, or both. And we want to have light food and drinks outdoors, fun atmosphere. That way, if people are not super comfortable yet with eating and drinking indoors, they have another option and can feel comfy in these troubling times of COVID-19. First things first, I would schedule a kickoff meeting, invite the development team, invite staff who work with learners and alumni, and any key donors or alumni who have expressed interest in assisting with in-person events. A lot of these happy hours are going to take place in cities, maybe where we don't have staff. So that might be a time where we want to engage a really interested volunteer, somebody really reliable. So to determine the route, I would compile a donor, alumni, learner list, all from Salesforce. I might engage a staff member to pull that information for me, or I might pull it myself. And then schedule a development team meeting to discuss and select the best cities. So let's actually take you first to the event schedule. So I picked all the priority market cities in part 2. That seems like a straightforward way to go about that. Excuse me. And I'm just going to show you New York. The rest are supposed to follow this formula in which we find a fun rooftop bar. I've been here for a fundraising event, thought it was fun, thought it was casual, thought it was very nice and centrally located. If you've got donors coming from the Bronx or Queens or Long Island or Westchester, they can all get here pretty easily. And then all the key data that you would need, or I would need if I was working with people who were on the ground in other cities that's doing the same thing. So having their number accessible, what kind of relationship I have with them, what time, and also our budget at the end here. In preparing the venues, we would want to pick that lead, whether it be staff, alumni, donor, to host the event day of in the cities that I can't be in. This would be how I would recruit that person. And also I would like to schedule a 1-hour Zoom training session with all leads. That way we can chat and share ideas, and also they know exactly what to expect. I would want to send them annual reports, blank name tags, so people can fill them out with fun markers as a way to break the ice, and make sure that we are in total communication about when they're ready, when they have the supplies, and also reimburse them for their supplies. That is very important. In booking the venues, I would always make sure I have my goals top of mind. And then all of these subtasks are identical. So I'll just take you to New York City because that's the first one. How I would typically do event research is by compiling a list of possible donors, deciding on a location, booking it, and then sending out rounds of invitations. After the event, we would compile our attendee data and then send out an attendee survey. So it would take me a little bit to build out the survey, and then I would want to send it out and then review and analyze these results and share them with staff in a post-event feedback meeting. I think this is a great way to figure out what was really successful, what was a challenge, and how we can grow from here. So our second touch point is a virtual teach-in. It's going to take place after the Happy Hour Roadshow. And although it exists as a totally standalone event, I thought it might be kind of nice to include it as like the final piece of the Happy Hour Roadshow. That way we're not leaving out anybody. We have major donors and staff and learners and alumni who are in non-priority markets or rural communities, and we want them to join in on the fun too. So I thought it would be fun to make this project goal as like the closeout of the Happy Hour Roadshow, something big that we could all come together and really feel like a community. The cost of admission would be totally free, so And that way we would give learners and alumni a chance to give 5 to 10-minute TED Talks on something they've become an expert in since they began their Merit America journey. I think it would be fun if the talk could break down a really technical concept for a general audience, but it could also maybe be something a little more meta than that, something they've learned about themselves, just who they are and where they're at in this journey. And I think it would be great if we could feature 1 to 2 minutes on their story or background, just to give some context and give them a chance to share their story. After the excuse me once again, after the TED Talks, we'd have a virtual networking session where people could chit chat and go into breakout rooms. And we could get fun and creative with that too, and see if maybe there's ways we could connect people based on their interests or fields. So if we're going to have a virtual conference, we need to research virtual conference platforms. I have done this before. This is something I really enjoy and I'm really comfortable with. Classy is a system my organization uses right now to input data for events. I like it because there's a very easy Salesforce integration and the registration page is built in, but maybe there's too many features we don't need and it's a little bit over our budget for something like that. So I have that in the pros and cons. Hey Summit is something I've used before for a virtual conference. I have to say it's not my favorite, so I have a couple of cons. I think it's kind of clunky and difficult to navigate as a user. There's no Salesforce integration, which is kind of a bummer if you're trying to engage that information. But the registration page is built in and the budget is $1,300 for 1 month. So we'd only need to get it for 1 month. So again, same kind of budget as Classy, maybe a little higher, maybe less of an option, but perhaps I'm underselling it. It's also a pretty user-friendly platform. Hopin is my favorite. I've never worked with it, but I've been a user in it and I think it's really user friendly. I think it's really clean and professional looking. So something I'd like to do would be request pricing and see if they have Salesforce integration. If it falls in our budget, I think it would be really worth it to use it. One con is that I've never worked in it before, so I don't quite have the expertise that I do with Classy or Hey Summit. And just to clarify, Classy Live is a new program born out of Classy. So I've not yet worked with Classy Live, but I've worked with Classy. We need to select our learner and alumni speakers. So this would be a great way to engage staff, ask them who they think would be a good match, send out a list and an invitation to anybody we think would be a really good fit. I don't have myself here because this would be places where I would be engaging staff to do this with me. And then we'd send out invitations. Oops, sorry. And just the tasks you would need to send out invitations. These are important. And I'll take you back to setting up one-to-one meetings with career coaches and learners or alumni speakers, just so that we're totally in communication about what it is they're saying and guiding them and what the most effective way to be chatting would be. And then we'd have our task for sending out invitations. And post-event, pretty similar to the happy hour roadshow, reviewing the attendee list, sending out the attendee survey, and then scheduling a feedback meeting as well. Our final touch point are care packages to send to donors. I wanted to do this in the summertime because I find that summertime programming can be a little bit tricky. We have so many people who are on vacation. We can't rely on them to be in their home cities for happy hours or other events. We have people who might not want to spend their vacation on the computer, so it might not be the best time to have a virtual event. People want to be outside. But it's a nice time to send them something, a touch point, let them know you're thinking about them. And that way, even if they're on vacation, when they come home, they're like, oh, wow, look at this great package I just got from Merit America. So that would be in line with the project goal. It would be a package of Merit America branded materials, a handwritten thank you note, and then a trackable QR code that will take you to a donation page. So this would be one way we would measure success with this would be to analyze who's clicking the QR code and who's donating it. We'd have to find vendors, and then we'd actually have to make our orders. And then our budget is hyperlinked here, but I'm just gonna take you right to the tab. And here's our care package budget. I have used for Imprint before. It's something I like. It's something I think is pretty cost effective. So 250 was the minimum quantity for totes. That was the quantity I used for everything because these are kind of evergreen materials. Whatever we don't use now, we'll use later. And I didn't know the exact pricing of annual reports and thank you notes and postage, so I put estimations there. And so these would be my top three choices for donor touch points. I did not include end of year fundraising because in my interview we had talked about some of your end of year work with sending out the annual report. So I wanted to engage some new timeframes. And I believe that's it for me. I wanted to say thank you very much for, again, having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to apply and talk to you a little bit about who I am as a project manager and a fundraiser. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.